You do not need to suffer from blisters in order to play the harp. There are quite a few things you can do to avoid getting them, and today I will show you what they are. My name is Zuzanna, I am a harpist and a harp teacher, and on this channel every Friday I share tips and advice on all things harp. Today I will show you how to take care of the skin on your fingertips to play the harp pain-free. First, let me explain the difference between the two terms that sometimes get mixed up, the blisters and the calluses. Sometimes I hear beginner harpists asking, how can I avoid getting calluses when playing the harp, while what they actually mean is probably blisters. So let's avoid the confusion here and let's begin by explaining the differences between the two terms. Let's begin with blisters. A blister is a small soft pocket of fluid on your skin, and on the harp you most often get it as a result of friction from the strings on your fingertips. A blister is usually whitish or semi-transparent when it comes to the color and rather soft to touch. The blisters can usually feel painful if you continue playing the harp, so they are something you definitely want to avoid. Now, here's a warning, I'm going to show you very briefly a picture of a blister. It's nothing too drastic, but if you are rather sensitive and would prefer not to see it, you can press the right arrow key on your keyboard to skip it or close your eyes right now. And you can open your eyes again, there will be no more blister pictures or any other scary pictures in this video. Now, calluses are a thin layer of slightly thicker skin within the upper layers of your fingertip. Calluses also develop as a result of friction, and their function is also to protect the layers of the skin underneath. Calluses that you get from playing the harp are usually really thin and in most cases hardly visible, so it's nothing like calluses that you can get on your feet when hiking in heavy shoes. You will most likely only be able to tell that you've got the harp playing calluses when touching your fingers. If you touch your forefinger, especially on the left hand, and then the little finger that you don't use to play the harp, you will definitely know the difference. Calluses are not and should not be painful when playing the harp, and when they are there on your fingertips, you're much less likely to get the painful blisters. Calluses can slightly change the quality of your sound, but usually the difference is really tiny and it's nothing to worry about. To sum up briefly this section, you definitely want to avoid the painful blisters, while calluses are fine, since they are there as one of the ways to protect your skin from getting blisters. So, what are the other ways? One of the best things you can do to avoid blisters is to practice regularly. If you're just starting out, begin with 10 minutes a day, maybe a few times a day if you can. 2 or more short portions of practice are always better than one long session. And when you're increasing the amount of practice, always do it gradually. When you pace yourself this way, you allow the time for the skin to get used to the friction from the strings and for the thin layer of callus to start forming on your fingertips. Now, before you ask, calluses are not something that you must develop in order to play the harp. They usually appear as a sort of byproduct of your practice, but if they don't, you're absolutely fine to carry on playing, as long as you don't suddenly increase the amount of time you spend at the harp. This is especially important if you had a break from playing or went away for a longer holiday without your harp. Depending on your skin, it may take several weeks to develop the calluses and about the same amount of time for them to disappear completely. But regardless whether they are there or not, whenever you had a longer break from the harp, start from short practice sessions and gradually build up from there. Make sure that you stop whenever you feel any sort of soreness in your fingers to prevent the blister from forming early on. When you're washing your hands with soapy water before playing the harp, give your fingers a few minutes to dry completely before starting to play. Your skin has its own natural barrier formed of lipids and enzymes. They form a thin layer that protects your skin from dehydration and other external factors. The soapy water, while it is very effective at removing dirt and germs from your skin, can affect this protective layer, and your skin will need a few minutes to regenerate. Same goes for shower, swimming, doing the dishes or taking a bath. When you spend more time with your hands in water, give your fingers a little bit more time to recover. Now, everyone is different and it all depends what you were doing and what your skin is like, but you may want to give yourself about 20 to 30 minutes of break before playing the harp. Even though we're talking about blisters potentially forming on your fingertips, the way you take care of your nails may affect the fingers too. Same as I avoid playing immediately after washing my hands, I prefer to wait a bit after trimming my nails. What I usually do is file or cut the nails in the evening when I'm not going to play the harp anymore, in order to give my fingers a little bit more time to get used to the new length of the nails before I play again the next morning. This tends to be very personal, but I also try not to trim my fingernails too short, because I notice that sometimes they can feel a bit more sensitive, and from time to time I may end up with the very annoying type of blister close to my fingernail, especially on the thumb. After a few years, I seem to have found the perfect length for my fingernails, where they are still short enough to be out of the way, but not so short that they are getting sensitive, and it seems to be working well. So, if you're often affected by blisters and they happen to be close to your nails, see if maybe you need to change the way you trim your nails. Here's a little trick for you if you need to play a lot of glissandi. Instead of using your fingers, get some of these felt picks. They are safe for the harp, and they will allow you to keep the volume of your glisses up when you need them, for example in the orchestra. I'll put a link to where you can get them in the description of this video. If I feel that my fingertips are getting a bit sore, or I have to play a lot more than usual, I also moisturize my fingers by applying some hand cream. Because I really don't like playing or having anything on my hands during the day, I usually apply some cream in the evening before going to bed, and then wear cotton gloves for the night. This can also help if you happen to get a blister and want to help your finger heal more quickly. Now, what to do if you just got a blister? Before I share with you my advice, one important disclaimer. I am not a doctor, and this general information is not intended to diagnose your medical condition or to replace your healthcare professional, and I hold no responsibility over what you choose to do with your body, both in general and as a result of you watching this video. Always consult a doctor or other trusted healthcare practitioner before starting any treatment. Now, about the blister. It can be hard, but the best thing that you can do is to take a break from playing and give your fingers some time to heal. If you haven't got exams, concerts, or anything else which you absolutely must play for, I encourage you to leave the blister alone. You can try practicing using your other hand, or to try mental practice instead. And by the way, if you haven't tried mental practice before, don't wait for a blister to come and check out what it's like, because it can benefit your playing so much. I've made a whole video about mental practice, and I will put the link in the description of this video. If your blister happens to break, resist the temptation to remove any of the skin, because it is there to prevent germs from getting underneath your skin, so just let it be. When this happens to me and I want to see if I can play, I apply a thin, paper-like plaster on my fingertip, like this. I start from tearing a little bit of the paper, of the plaster, and then I tear on both ends. It's really thin, so it's very easy. And then I put it on my fingertip like that and use each of the 4 ends to wrap it around my finger. Quite tight, but not too tight. And there you go. I only do it for the time when I'm at the harp, so it allows for the skin underneath to stay protected despite the skin friction from the strings. If your blister gets infected, you absolutely should see a doctor, because you may need to take some antibiotics. The signs of infection are red, hot skin on or around the blister, or the blister being filled with green or yellow pus, or a blister which is very painful. If either of these happens, make sure to see the doctor as soon as you can. To sum up, prevention is always better than having to deal with a blister, and the best thing that you can do is being mindful about the amount of practice that you're doing. Give your fingers some time to properly dry after washing your hands, and see what's best in terms of trimming your nails. I hope your fingers will stay blister-free so you can fully enjoy your harp. Let me know in the comments what are your tips for taking care of your fingers. I will be looking forward to hearing from you and to seeing you here for another episode of the Coffee Break Harp next Friday. Make sure to subscribe and take good care of yourself and your fingers. Bye for now!